One of the biggest challenges facing Europe today is the release of radicalized and terrorist offenders from prison. A shifting threat, which was an issue high on the agenda of RAN's 2018 plenary, which took place in Luxembourg on the 12th of October. The plenary discussed ways to ensure their social reintegration and how to limit potential risks. Some countries have extensive experience dealing with terrorist offenders. Torben, who is from the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs of the federal state of Bremen, tells us about the situation in Germany.
Based on the experience Germany made in the 1970 years with the Red Army faction, with the left-wing terrorists, we decided to normalize the treatment for violent extremist offenders. In the 1970s, we have one special unit in one particular prison where all these extremists were in custody, and we have made, so to say, a very bad experience. It did not work out, and therefore we decided to implement a regime of normalization. That means that all offenders, did not matter what the criminal act was, received the same kind of treatment and rehabilitation programs.
In the Netherlands, people who are suspected or convicted for terrorist crimes are separated, detained in special prison wings. Yola, the director of the Vught prison, explains what happens from day one.
We start the first day when somebody's coming in. We start with preparation to go back to the society, because we know when somebody gets released. And we have a case manager, and the case manager is collecting the practical matters. And we've also had a psychologist on the terrorist wing, and she's starting with her conversations. And so we start so soon as possible we can.
Yola also highlights the multi-agency approach.
We invite the probation officers, we talk with them every 2 months, and we have also in between information sharing. We invite the local authorities to come to our prison and to share our information, our thoughts and our worries sometimes about somebody. And the case manager is going to the safety houses.
The involvement of the local community is also key, according to Grav from the Norwegian Prison and Probation Service.
It is important to get in contact with the local community. And you can't do that the first time. You can't do that at the moment you have one that should be released. You must do that in good time. You must build a connection with the local community over years, so to say. Creating a plan for release together with local community, police, intelligence services, and if possible with the prisoner himself.
In Norway, there is a mentoring scheme as described by Grav.
The mentoring scheme are run from the directorate. It's a couple of persons that are hired in that belong to the directorate, and we have recruited people from the local society. There are 1 or 2 imams. There are people that are very experienced in the local community with right-wing extremism. Some of them are soccer team trainers. It's people that gain trust, and we try to put them together. It's also women.
Working with different stakeholders is crucial. Devos, the General Director of the Maison de Justice in Brussels, explains.
It's for us very important to have contacts with the prison, in the prison, at the early stage of the release, to make real concrete agreements, but agreements not only with the prison but also with the people. We need to meet the offender and to have open discussion between offender, prison staff, probation staff, and also we have the possibility in the probation to meet the family, to meet the friends, to see where is these people going to, and it's very important to have the big picture and to see the resources and also the risk for the people outside.
Risk assessment tools can help. Torben explains how this is done in Germany.
It's a system called Method of Individual Typical Comparative Analysis. It's an instrument from the 1970s, and this assessment is constituted of many items which are able to measure the shortfalls of the individual offender. And this plays, of course, also then a role when we are asked to make the prediction of the risk of potential recidivism.
In the Netherlands,
We use the VERA 2R, and the VERA is saying something about the scale of somebody is radicalized, and the VERA is also saying something about his protective factors. And the probation used the VERA for the reports to the court. We use the VERA mostly for our interventions and aftercare when somebody gets released.
in Norway,
From our point of view, risk assessment tools like VERA 2 or ERG 22 Plus will never be anything other than a prediction of future risk. And it could only be a part of the risk, the professional structural judgment. We think we will do okay without VERA 2 actually, and similar tools. And that's in contrast with the rest of Europe.
but once released from prison, the ex-offenders face many difficulties. Annie Devos explains.
We need to create spaces where inclusion of these people is really possible, because the labeling is really difficult to support, and we need really to go throughout this labeling and to give really to human person a chance to have a second chance.
It is clear the challenges are multifaceted. So too are the ways in which EU member states experience and deal with radicalized offenders. Despite the differences, our interviewees agree on one fact, that reintegration work needs to start as early as possible. And while risk assessment tools can help in preparing for the release of offenders, some countries, like Norway, have their own approach. What is certain is that preventing labeling and stigmatization is important to ensure ex-offenders have a good chance to reintegrate into society.